Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Good morning, everyone. Today, I am going to tell you about animals' adaptations. Before starting adaptations in animals, I want all of you to bring your books and open page number 17, unit 2.2. Students, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain different types of adaptation. You will also be able to explain how adaptations help animals to survive in their environment. First of all, I am going to tell you about adaptations, like what is actually adaptation. Anything that helps an organism to survive in its environment is adaptation. There is no corner of the world where plants and animals do not grow naturally. From the frozen Arctic to the dense rainforest, on the top of the highest mountains to the deep oceans, everywhere animals and plants survive naturally. They grow naturally. A natural environment where any organism live, where they feed, where they reproduce, where they live. That natural environment is called habitat. Various parts of plants and animals modify in various ways to adapt to their environment. That modification, that development of certain parts in animals that help them to survive and flourish in their environment is termed as adaptation. Adaptations help animals to survive in changing environment. Basically, it is the ability of living thing to adjust themselves to their environment. So, what is basically adaptation? The ability of any organism, the ability of any animal to survive in its environment is adaptation. So, I am also going to tell you about different types of adaptation. When we talk about behavioral adaptation, it is an action that helps an animal to survive. For example, hibernation, migration. What is hibernation? There are so many animals that hibernate. Hibernate means they take long, deep sleep for a long period of time because they think they cannot survive in such climate. If we take the example of bear, they cannot survive in very cold temperature. So what happens? In cold environment, they take long deep sleep. They hibernate. Some birds think they cannot survive in very hot environment. So what they do? They migrate from very hot area to the colder area for their survival. The second type of adaptation is physiological adaptation. Physiological adaptation is basically a body process that helps an animal to survive. That is physiological adaptation. For example, snake produces venom. What is venom? Venom is basically a poisonous material, right? So snakes produce venom, and some of the species of snake they spit venom on their prey. In this way, they get their prey. They get the food. The third one is structural adaptation, a body part or coloring that helps any animal to survive to its environment. For example, camouflage and mimicry. I'm going to uh, show you the examples of camouflage and mimicry later on, along with their pictures. Now, a question comes in our mind: why adaptation is important? If animals do not adapt in their environment, what is going to happen? Do you really think they are going to survive if they are not going to adapt? If you are going somewhere from a very hot country to a very cold country, you also need some time to adapt to that environment. And if you are not going to adapt to that environment, your survival will be difficult. In the same way, if animals, they are not going to adapt to their environment, their survival would be very difficult. And for their survival, they need food, they need shelter, they need energy, right? That's why adaptation is important. Students, changes happens over several generations. It's not like that in just one day changes are going to take place. It takes many, many years. The animal that better suits the environment will survive long enough to reproduce. The feature that kept it alive are passed on to the next generation. Here I'm going to tell you few ways of adaptations. You can say few examples of adaptation. Along with the pictures of animals, you will come to know how animals adapted to their environment. Now see the example of polar bear. Polar bears can survive in a very cold climate of Arctic just because of their thick fur. If they don't have thick fur, they cannot survive in such a cold climate. Walruses. Walruses have thick layer of blubber that help them to survive in their cold climate. Mimicry. Some animals, they look similar to the other animals. We can take the example of coral snake that is not that much poisonous as the king snake is. But as it looks like king snake, many of the predator, they don't attack it because it looks like a king snake. So what is mimicry? Many animals look similar to the other animals. In this way, they protect themselves from predator. You can see this is the picture of coral snake and this is the picture of king snake. They look very similar to each other, but actually they are not similar. They are different. Now another example of adaptation is ducks. They have webbed feet that allow them to survive in their habitat. How? When they are with the help of these webbed feet, they are going to catch the insects and they are going to get energy. Pelicans, they have pouched bills that help them to catch the fishes from the ocean. In this way, they are surviving in their habitat. Giraffes, they have long necks that allow them to reach into trees to get food. Here, I want to tell you one very important thing. Many, many years back, giraffes were not having such long necks as they are having nowadays. There is a small story behind it. Here, I'm going to show you a video.
next story, Sam finds out that a long neck can be really useful.
Oh, those leaves look so yummy. Oh, I wish I had a longer neck so I could reach them.
Long, long ago, that's exactly what the giraffe said.
Did they?
Oh, yes. A long, long time ago, giraffes didn't have long necks. They were just like the elephants and the antelopes, whose necks were shorter.
Just look at those leaves. This is the perfect tree for a spot of lunch. Hello there, elephant. Haven't seen you for a while. How are things?
Hey, over here, lads. Grubs up.
Hey, leave me some, will you? I was here first. Ow! You're standing on my hoop. Don't mean to be pushy, but... thank you. Very kind of you. Oh, no! They haven't left me anything to eat. Now they look good. It's no use.
Was the giraffe still hungry?
He was. Then he found another acacia tree.
Ah, perfect.
He started to eat when...
Hold on! You don't have to push and shove, boys. There's plenty of leaves for us all, you know.
But the antelope weren't listening. They were too busy munching.
Watch it.
Very tasty.
There'll be nothing left for me.
So what did the giraffe do?
There was nothing he could do, other than to stand back and wait until the antelope had had their fill.
Maybe I can reach those high, juicy leaves. Bother and bother again.
It's so not fair.
Well, that's how it was for the giraffes. They had to compete with the elephant and the antelope for food. Then one day, after a long, 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 long time, a giraffe was born that had a slightly longer neck. And as she grew up, she was taller than her brothers and sisters.
Hello there. How's things? Whatever.
Hey, look at that. How come the giraffe is still eating?
Long necks can come in very handy, you know.
And she was right. With her longer neck, the giraffe could reach the juicy leaves on the high branches. She didn't get as hungry as the other giraffes. She had plenty to eat. So when she got older and had baby giraffes of her own, some of them had long necks too. And over many, many, many years, more giraffes were born with longer necks.
Oi, you, out of the way. Hold up, guys. I don't believe it. Have you seen the length of this guy's neck?
I think you'll find this is an especially good tree.
The giraffes with the longest legs found more juicy leaves and didn't often go hungry. They survived. And the giraffes with the shorter legs didn't do so well. So after many, 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 many years...
All the giraffes had really long necks. Do you think one day there will be a tortoise born with a really long neck?
Sam, that's a very interesting question.
Well, giraffe has a long neck. Woo! You see, there was a time when giraffe had short legs, short horns, and a very short stump.
So now moving forward, as I showed you the video of giraffes, how they got long necks. Okay, so moving forward, when opossums are threatened by predators, they roll their body to the back and appear to be dead. Predators mostly attack the live animal, so they leave the dead opossum alone. So what do the opossums do? They they used to play tricks with their predator, and they roll their body to the back to appear dead. And what is going to happen then? Then the predators are going to leave them because they don't like the dead opossum. They want the live animal to eat. So in this way, opossums protect themselves from predator, right? And which type of adaptation is this? It's behavioral adaptation. Camels store water in their humps so they can survive in hot climate of desert. As you all know that camels live in very dry condition. They can survive in desert where there is a very hot at daytime and very cold at night. Camels have humps. They store water and they store their food in their humps. And in drought, they use the energy from the stored food and from the stored water. In this way, they survive in their habitat. Camouflage. Some animals, they camouflage. Adaptation also help animals to protect themselves from predator. One of the method of protection is camouflage. This helps them to blend into their environment. You can see the picture of Arctic fox. The color of Arctic fox changes depending on which season is approaching. This helps them to blend into their environment so they can't be seen easily by the predator. In the second picture, it's very difficult to figure out where is the butterfly because it's camouflage itself. And in the third picture, it's difficult to figure out the green snake, right? So camouflage is another, you can say, method of protection. Now, guys, I know that many of you are familiar with the term adaptation now. And many of you are also familiar how animals adapt themselves to their environment and what are the examples of adaptations. So I will give you a homework. This is the question, please note it down. Why do animals need to adapt to their surroundings? You have to write answer in your own words. Please don't consult your book. Write the answer in your rough notebook. And you should know that what things you have to mention over here. You should know that why adaptation is important for animals, right? And what are the things that are essential for the survival of any animal. So you have to write over here. I want a detailed answer. Thank you so much, everyone, for your precious time. But now it's time for quiz.